Hey everyone, welcome back to, gosh, what is today? Today's Wednesday. Oh my gosh, time's flying by. So we didn't do a show yesterday because I got home late. I got home, it was around 8 something. So then I started crunching the numbers on the miners. We do have Cipher, Hive, and Hut 8 reporting their financial results for Q2. Some of them are Q1. So we'll get into those numbers. We also have news from Bitfarms, board member changes, and a new, I don't know if it's a new position, but I think they got somebody else in Senior Vice President of Operations, I think it's called. We'll look at that. We got also Riot now providing us there at 18.6 or 18.9% ownership in Bitfarms. We'll talk about that as well. And then we'll get into some of the quick metrics, market caps in the miners, as well as current enterprise values to Exahash. We'll look at all those things. And we'll get into the Q&A side of things. So it should be pretty good. All right, but as always, you guys, I got to do this every time. We're not financial advice. For entertainment only. Do your own research. Full disclosure down below on that. If you enjoy this type of content, as always, hit the like button. Helps me out tremendously. But yeah, let's take a look at what's going on here with Bitcoin really quick. On that one, it hasn't been a great day for Bitcoin here today. We had a much better day yesterday, but the miners didn't do too well yesterday either. Surprisingly, Bitcoin was up yesterday, Bitcoin was down today, and miners were down on both days. So we'll have to take what we get here right now. But let me see here. Do I have all my lines drawn up here? I thought I'm missing some lines here. Oh, I do have this turned off. Okay. So we are kind of battling between right now, between the 57,500 mark and the 61,000 mark on support and resistance. Right now, the 61,000 mark is our resistance, 57,500 is our support, and we've been bouncing off of that right now in the last couple of days. So we'll see where we end up at here. I'm hoping that the 57,000 holds. And eventually we do go back up much higher. But Bitcoin was down today, 3.16%. Miners did basically the same thing. The only one that was down quite a bit was Mawson, but Mawson had a huge day on Monday. So it's no surprise that a little bit of pullback there. People are probably taking profits in that one. As far as the rest of the miners, you can see here, majority of them were pretty much down single digits. Any was down 3%, Argo was 7%, Digital down 3.6%, Bitdeer down 2%, Bitfarms down 2%, Cipher down 6.9%. Cleanspark just down barely here, 0.81%. CORZ was up 4%. They also announced an increase in their convertible notes to, I think, 400 million here today. So that's pretty good for them. They have to pay off some debt with high interest rates. That's a good thing. Digihost was down 6.6. DMG was down 2.8. Hive was down 1%. Hut was up just barely 0.09%. IREN was down 1.3. Mara was down 2.2. Mawson was down 16. Riot was down 2.4. Stronghold was up 4.3, and then Wolf was up 1.2. So Stronghold was up 4.3 on that one. So it was kind of mixed day here for the most part, but mostly in the red on the miners. If we look at the network hash rate here right now on the 7-day chart, we can see that we are coming down from our peak here that we reached on July 26th, which was 667 exahash on the network hash rate. That has come down here to 610 exahash. But if we look at the 30-day moving average, which is what I like to really look at, is it has continued to increase here. So we are now at 628 exahash on the 30-day average. We bottomed out somewhere around here, right around 575 exahash. And our previous high was here on May at 625. So we went past that. So miners are being installed more and more as time goes on, which is kind of what we were expecting here. I'm expecting us to get to maybe like around 800 exahash by the end of the year, if all things work out, 800 to 900 exahash. So we still have a ways to go, and we'll see how close I am on that estimate on that one. All right, let's get into the news stories that we do have here. First one's going to be on Bitfarms. So Bitfarms announces board of directors and leadership updates. And I think this is good news on them, but we'll get into it here. So board of directors, Ben Gagnon, chief executive officer of Bitfarms, has been appointed to the company's board of directors effective immediately. So that's great news having been on there. The company also announced today that the board has appointed a lead director, Brian Howlett, as its independent chairman. Nicholas Bonta, founder and former chairman, has decided to step down from the board, also effective immediately. Right, one of the people that Riot wanted to get off the board was Nicholas Bonta. So he's off there now, right now. That's a good sign there. We had the other founder as well get kicked out basically in the last shareholder vote. So he's out of there. Now we got basically the two founders out, and we got new people in here. So I think this is good news for the company. This is what we really need. We need to kind of shake up the board a little bit, get the old people out. Not old people, but just the older, the people that have been in there for quite a while. Get them out, get some new blood in there, And this is great news there. And then also the board will continue to be comprised of 5 directors, 4 of whom will be independent. And then Riot is trying to get 3 people on there from their liking. I don't know how many they will get at the meeting that we have, the shareholder meeting in October, which is late October. Can't remember the exact dates on it, but I know it's in late October. At that point, we'll see how those votes go for them and see how many people they can get on the board there and how many people get kicked off the board here at Bitfarms as well. So we'll take a look at that when that happens in basically, 2 months now. And then executive team here. The company also announced today that Liam Wilson, an experienced executive with over 2 decades of leadership experience across multiple relevant industries, has been appointed Chief Operating Officer effective August 26th. So Liam will play a critical role in developing and refining our operational procedures and systems with the goal of improving efficiencies, said Gagnon. We look forward to benefiting from his leadership and U.S. energy industry experience to enhance value of our shareholders. We continue to recruit for an SVP, Senior Vice President of Mining Operations, and VP of HPCI as we look to further bolster our bench and operating strength. So great news there. And then what do we have on Mr. Liam Wilson here? So Mr. Liam Wilson is seasoned operating executive with more than 20 years of leadership experience. Mr. Wilson has transacted in excess of 900 megawatts of power across the U.S., including developing and operating facilities in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Georgia, Texas, and Nebraska. He is an expert in deregulated U.S. energy industry, having led the first large-scale and market-leading Bitcoin mining demand response program in the deregulated PJM market. His previous senior executive experience includes roles as the Chief Operating Officer for publicly traded Mawson Infrastructure Group, which we talked about on Monday, right? They got a nice contract for HPC business. Operations Manager for publicly traded EVT Hospitality and Entertainment, and Group Operations Manager for the White House Group. So he's got some experience there as well. Mawson I got to give it to Mawson though. They have done a great job growing their infrastructure, but their operations for Bitcoin mining have not been that great. If you recall, also Cleanspark bought one of their facilities out as well. This was back in 2022. But they would have had a much bigger pipeline than what they do have now. But their pipeline is still pretty good here. So he's got experience with that, which is good. And the board seats being now Ben and what was the other? There was another gentleman being added to the board as well. Who am I missing here? I'm missing somebody here that was being added. Oh gosh, I didn't highlight it. Where is he at? Let's see. There was one more. Gosh, did I miss it? Where is it at? Okay. Oh yeah, Brian Howlett. Yeah. So we got those 2 people in as well. So overall, I think this is good. We'll see, like I said, with the vote coming up in October, what that's going to do for the board seats and everything else, how that's going to play out. If Riot can get enough shareholders to vote for them, well, then we might have a different board at that point. But I'm thinking that the board with the way it is right now, I think is looking pretty good. All right, so that's Bitfarms here, and Riot also came out. Let's see, when was this released here? Yesterday as well. So let's see, Riot Platforms Inc. reports beneficial ownership of 18.9% in Bitfarms now, and then here's the quotes here. So immediately prior to the acquisition of common shares, giving rise to the issuance of this press release, Riot beneficially owned 84.2 million common shares, representing approximately 18.68% of the issued and outstanding common shares, based on the information contained in the company's Q2 MD&A. Following completion of the aforementioned acquisition, so they bought some more here, bought another million shares here. Riot beneficially owned 85.29 million, representing approximately 18.9% of the issued and outstanding common shares as of the date hereof. And then on June 24th, Riot announced that it excuse me, it is requisitioned a special meeting of the shareholders, which is what we're talking about here previously in October, at which Riot will seek to remove certain directors from the company's board. Well, those directors are now removed. So we'll see how that works out and replace them with independent directors candidates. Independent to who? Independent to Riot? Probably not. Right, but we'll see what that vote is like. So they are at 18.9 after winning that court case or the tribunal case at the London Stock Exchange, not London Stock Exchange. I think it was the Toronto Stock Exchange. For that tribunal, they won that last month, which then made it possible for them to buy up to 20% of the company. So they can get to like 19.99% of the company ownership without introducing the poison pill that Bitfarms has for their shareholder rights. So we'll see how far higher they can get to it. And then they did state down here below, I didn't highlight it, but they stated the company, let's see, Riot intends to review its investments in the company on a continuing basis and depending upon various factors, including without limitation, any discussion between Riot, the company, and or Bitfarms board and its advisors regarding, among other things, the requisition special meeting and or the composition of the board, Bitfarms board. So I'm guessing if they don't get the board seat members there on in October, at that point, Riot may think twice and maybe they are going to start selling shares of Bitfarms at that point because they just don't have a path to possibly buy them out, whether it's through a friendly buyout or through a hostile takeover at that point. But we'll see. You know, I'm for it for both companies to stay independent. Riot has great growth plans going forward by themselves. They also bought out, what did they buy out? Block mining here recently. So they're doing all the right things, I think. They just need to increase their uptime at Corsicana and at Rockdale facilities, and they'll do great. I think Bitfarms also has a great future by themselves as well. So I'd like to see the company stay separate if possible. But time will tell, I guess. We'll see what that works out to. Okay, now on to the financial reports here. Let's take a look at Cipher really quick. Cipher reported their Q2 results here. So in addition to constructing the 300 megawatt facility at Black Pearl, we are on track to close the acquisition of our new, I don't know how to pronounce this, Reveal data center site with up to 200 megawatts of capacity, and are pleased to announce we have executed a term sheet for an option to acquire 3 new sites with a cumulative power capacity of 1.5 gigawatts. That's huge, actually. If those 3 sites have that much, that's a great get by Cipher there. Okay. We expect developing HPC infrastructure will be complementary to our Bitcoin mining business and that we can strike the right balance between the 2 business lines to drive significant shareholder value for many years, concluded Mr. Page. So I think that is a good thing as well. I think if you can do it and you can get good customers there, I say why not? It's good profit. So might as well do that. And it's good that they are looking into that as well. Okay, finance and operating highlights. Upgraded of Odessa site, bringing total self-mining hash rate to 13.5 on track for Q4 of this year, which is good. Construction of 300 megawatt data center in Black Pearl underway with expected energization in Q2. So basically we're out like 9 months out on that one roughly. And then acquisition of Rioville data center site with up to 200 megawatts of capacity, well suited for HPC data centers, expected to close soon. So that's good. And then Q2 24 GAAP diluted net loss of 5 cents per share, non-GAAP diluted adjusted loss of 1 penny per share. Okay, and I didn't go into too much details here. So let's take a look at the numbers that we do have here on Cipher. So Cipher, based on their latest report, has 328 million shares, almost 329. Their market cap, as of today, with stock price at 365, is 1.2 billion. The performance over the last 12 weeks hasn't been great. And you can see that over here, 12 weeks, 8 weeks, and 4 weeks. And their current hash rate is at 8.7. Future hash rate about 13.8. So they are still on track to get there. This year, they do have a HODL. It's valued at 142 million. Going down here, let's see here. Last 4 quarters revenue. So they came in at 36.8 million in Q2. That is a decrease from the 48, about 12 million or so. But we're seeing that from pretty much every miner here since the halving event. Current quarter that we're estimating in, which is now Q3, I got them at about 27 million here. We'll see how close we can get to that. It's going to change still, depending on how much they install a hash rate. Where does Bitcoin price go? Where does the network hash rate go? That could have an impact on that as well. And the last 4 quarters operating costs minus depreciation came in at 22.65, a little bit of an increase over Q1, but not bad. Cost to mine 1 Bitcoin minus depreciation. So we're just looking at their whatever they reported in their costs minus depreciation. That's kind of what I'm getting per Bitcoin mined here. Bitcoin mined quarterly has been coming down, and that's really the impact of one, the halving event, and the other is not growing as fast as network hash rate. So you're going to see that for a lot of companies here. Okay, let's see, debt to equity lower is better. So they're at 1.1228, which is good here. And then current ratio higher is better. It's at 8.4, so they can pay off the current debt with current assets at, or current assets at 8 times over, basically. Total current assets increased to 309 million, and then total current liabilities increased only a little bit here to 36.4 million from 31 million, I guess you could say, on that one. All right, going down here to the numbers, actually, we'll get into some of these metrics here in a little bit. Current assets, we talked about that, 309 million versus 250 million here, so that's a nice increase here. I mean, you can see where they were basically just a year ago in Q3. They were at 54 million. They basically 6x'd, roughly 5-something x on their total current assets, which is nice to see. Total assets increased to 775 million, almost a double from where they were a year ago in Q3. Total current liabilities increased just a little bit here to 36. It's still lower where they were last year. So that line is looking really good there. Total liabilities, 84 million here, a little bit higher where they were from last year, even last quarter, but still not too bad there. Revenues, okay. So revenues came in at 36.8 million, and I had them at, let's go back up here. I had them at 36.8. I mean, I was right on the money pretty much. I was up by $994 on it, which I'm really happily surprised that I get that close, especially since they have a JV. That's a little tough to figure out sometimes, but I'm really happy with that number. Pretty much nailed that one. Doesn't happen often. Never actually has happened to be that close. I've been always close within a little bit, but never that close. Going down here, cost of revenues came in at 14.2 million here. Compensation and benefits, 16.2 million. General administrative, 8.3. So that is an increase here over the 6 that they had in the prior quarter. The other two have kind of stayed. I mean, compensation and benefits increased a little bit here as well. But I mean, they're getting a lot in stock-based compensation compared to their regular expenses. Let's see, depreciation and amortization went up a little bit to 20 million. Power sales, pretty close to where it was for the prior quarter. Gains on fair value of Bitcoin, right? So the FSB rules are taking effect on them. 16 million on that one, which was a hit. And then total cost of operating expenses was 52 million here compared to a 1 million here. And the main reason for that is the gains on fair value of Bitcoin, where we had a negative, which had a nice impact on their numbers down here. And this time around, had a negative impact, I guess you could say, on it. Okay, going down here, let's see what else we have here. Other income, interest, up a little bit, interest expense. Other operating expenses was 1.4 instead of a negative 1.3 here. Loss before taxes was negative 14 million compared to a gain of 45 million. So definitely quite a big swing here from Q1, mainly attributable to the halving event and the FSB rules at that point. So the FSB rules are great when Bitcoin's going up, but when Bitcoin's going down from quarter to quarter, it can be a little painful on the miners. So net gain loss was negative 15 million compared to 39 million. And if we just take out depreciation and comprehensive income at that point on this, well, they had a loss of 5 cents, but if we take out those two things, they would be at like 2 cents positive possibly. Okay, looking at those things on it. Big takeaways from this, they need to grow some more hash rate. It's kind of what really has to happen with a lot of these miners is they need to grow their hash rate as fast as possible to combat some of this decrease in mining and everything else. But going down here, book value of equity is now 690 million. That's an increase over the 600 that we had prior. Price to book ratio 1.7 compared to 1.9, so that's actually down. Enterprise value is also down a little bit here to 1.02 billion compared to 1.04 billion. EBITDA was 4 million here, looks like. EV to EBITDA 250. Net debt to EBITDA was 18.2. And then revenue we talked about was 36.8. General administrative compensation was 24.6 million. That includes compensation and benefits, general administrative as well. That's 69 or 66% of their revenues. That's a lot. If we take out the compensation side of things on share base, let's take a look at that. If we take that out really quick, we can do that. What does that actually come in at that point? 22%. So it wouldn't be that bad, but including that, that's pretty rough. Okay, shares increased by about 6% here over the last quarter. They're at 328 million, which we talked about here. And based on the latest numbers that we do have here for them with the last 3 quarters of numbers, which should be, we're using the actual numbers here for those. When we're looking at the current quarter, which is estimated, I am in between $4.72 to $7.08. They're at $3.65. I do believe that they are undervalued right now from where they really should be. And the big thing is for them is they got to grow. I mean, if you look at their growth here, it has been pretty small. And I mean, last year they were at 6.8, they're at 8.7. So a 2 exahash increase here, that's pretty small over the past year on that one. So yeah, big thing is they got to grow, basically get to scale so they can reduce some of their overall headcount, or not reduce overall headcount, but reduce their costs compared to the revenues. And the only way you do that is by getting to scale, basically. All right, so that's it on Cipher. Let's take a look at the next one here really quick, which is going to be Hive on this one. So Hive announces quarterly revenue of 32.2 million, adjusted beta of 14.9 million with an increase in Bitcoin holdings to 2,496 Bitcoin, 449 Bitcoin mined, and HPC expansion. And let's see if I highlighted anything. I did. The company has identified 30 megawatts of capacity in its existing Bitcoin mining facilities, which it owns and operates, which it is planning to convert to Tier 3 infrastructure for GPU operations to yield 20 megawatts of Tier 3 compute. The company believes these upgrades could be completed in 6 to 9 months from construction commencement. As power distribution and internet redundancy are in place, the company believes the value proposition of conversion of existing Bitcoin mining capacity to Tier 3 data centers rack space is twofold. A quicker construction timeline of 6 to 9 months for a retrofit versus 24 to 36 months construction timeline for greenfield, which I agree, and that's one of the good things about that. And a construction budget of approximately $5 million to $7 million per megawatt for retrofit versus $10 million to $12 million per megawatt for a new build. Yeah, I mean, it's also much, costs are much better at that point, also if you're retrofitting. So I do agree there. I didn't hear anything yet, and I didn't listen to the conference call. I think they had it this afternoon, but I'd be interested to see what they said, if they have any customers that are in there. Right, big thing is customers. You need customers to make it worthwhile. Let's see here. So this is our Q1 fiscal year 2025 summary. So generated digital currency mining revenue of $29.6 million and $2.6 million of HPC revenue, with a gross operating margin of $11.4 million, ending the quarter with over $10 million of annualized run rate revenue from HPC business. Adjusted beta income of $14.9 million for the 3 months. Reported net income before tax $4.2. Working capital increased to $14.2 million during the 3 months, and the digital currency assets of $153.9 million on that one. And that is basically it. So pretty good quarter overall for them. Look at Hive here. Like I've said before, Hive has been in this for quite a while. This is their second halving event that they've been through. And they're very efficient when it comes to expenses, building out, all that stuff, which, I got to give it to them. They're very good at that stuff. But the only big thing is they're not very, in my opinion, at least not very ambitious on their growth. They don't want to be a top 5 miner. They want to be where they are, maintaining the 1% network hash rate, which is fine, right? But they're not going to be possibly growing as much as the other miners, which I think a lot of the investors are looking for growth here, and big growth at that. But currently they have about 117 million shares outstanding, stock price at 281, market cap 329. I think they have the lowest market cap here out of the miners that I cover here on these guys. Their performance over the last 12 weeks hasn't been great either. You can see that right there. Let's see, current hash rate about 5 exahash right now. They have a little bit of growth here left. They're trying to get to 13 exahash by sometime next year. So they're going to be growing some more, and that should probably stay in line with the network hash rate of about 1% of that. Going down here, they had $37 million in revenue in Q4, which was our Q1. And then they had $32 million here in their Q1, our Q2, which is not that bad. They're only down $5 million in revenue roughly, so that's actually pretty good here. Current quarter, we're looking at about $20.5 million, and this is just for Bitcoin self-mining. Their last 4 quarters operating costs have been increasing, but that's going to be given with a lot of these miners here. As you get more hash rate and all that stuff, that's going to drive the costs up here. Cost to mine 1 Bitcoin minus depreciation came in at 46.2 thousand. I'm surprised that one was so high. I may have to read. We'll look at those numbers down below. But that is a little bit high there. BTC mined here has been continuing to come down here for them, 450 roughly. And then debt to equity is pretty low at 0.1698. Current ratio is nice and high, 7.3, so no problems there on a healthy balance sheet. Total current assets about 199 million. Total current liabilities 27 million. So, like I said, healthy balance sheet on that one. All right, going down here, we'll look at some of these metrics here in a second. Here, assets, we talked about that, increased a little bit here to 199. Total assets increased as well to 319, so that's looking good there. Total current liabilities 27 million as well. That pretty much stayed actually down from their Q4, our Q1. Total liabilities 46 million. That's also down as well. Total liabilities and stockholder equity 319 from 307. So that's good increase there. Revenues 29.6. And what did I have them at for self mining? I was actually way off on them. Why do I have 32 point? Wait a minute. Which one am I using here? 32. Okay. Combined. Oh, that's self mining. Revenues. There we go. That's why I was thinking I was off. 29.63. And then high performance includes that. Okay. That's where I was off. Okay, so I was off not that much, 0.23%. So it came pretty close to their number on that one. And then what do we have here? Our performance has actually come, well, for the fiscal year, has come up a little bit here from Q4. They had 2.2 million, now 2.6 million, so a little bit of an increase on that one. What else do we have here? Operating and maintenance costs, 20 million, so still pretty close to where they were in at the end of the Q4. Depreciation, amortization, down a little bit here. Total cost of sales was 34 million here, so it's down from the 37 million, so that's actually pretty good there. Gross profit, though, came in at negative 2.3 million compared to what is that 64,000 here, looks like. Yeah, 64,000 based on that. What else do we have here? Gain on disposable assets, negative 1.2 million. Total here is 1.2. Expenses at general administrative expenses was 3.4, up a little bit here from the 3.1 million that they had. Foreign exchange gain was down to 329,000. Share-based compensation pretty low here, 489,000. Really like seeing what they're doing here with that. They've been very, very conservative on the share-based compensation that they give out to their employees, as opposed to some of the other companies here. So this is always a really good number for them. So let me see here. What does this include? Expenses came in at 3.6 million on that. What else do we have here? That was a big one. Unrealized loss on investments, 7.7 million here. And what else? Gain on sale of mining assets. So they sold some older machines, I'm guessing, at that point. And net income for the period was 3.2 million here. Cost of revenue. Let's see here. What else do we have here? Net loss and comprehensive income loss for the period was negative 18 million compared to a positive 25 or 47 million for Q4 numbers. Gosh, keep going back and forth between the Q4 numbers and Q1 numbers and the Q2 numbers, and I'm getting confused myself. But yeah, they were definitely at a loss, but they came in at 3 cents per share on it, and I think that's because they're using this number over here. And if you look at that, whereas they were negative for the year, flat for the quarter, so it is a positive quarter for them. That's based on the number of shares. If we take out depreciation compensated income, they're looking at 15 cents at that point. Okay, so actually it was a pretty good quarter for Hive, based on those numbers. Going up here, let's see here. Why do we have there? Well, let's talk about book value of equity, 273 million. Price to book ratio, 1.2. Enterprise value, 191 million. EBITDA came in at negative 3.3 million. EV to beta, negative 57 on that one. Revenue, 32 million. General administrative compensation, 3.9 million. That's 12%. So that's actually up a little bit from the prior quarter, but it's still a really good number there. All right, let's take a look at Bitcoin here. Bitcoin, cost to mine one Bitcoin was 76,000. Depreciation. So what are we looking at here? 450 Bitcoin mined, and then operating maintenance costs was 20 million. Okay. Then yeah, that would make sense. Then the numbers do add up. We're not including depreciation there because depreciation is separate from it. So, okay. Yeah, I mean, they came at 46,000. Why is that? I mean, is it because of the drop in Bitcoin mine quarter over quarter? Let's see. I mean, yeah, they had a pretty big drop here from 650 to 450, 200 BTC less. That might be attributable to that. They also had older machines. They're getting newer machines as well. Maybe that's going to help them down the road. But yeah, their Q1 was definitely pretty rough here on them. Looking at the numbers that we do have here for them for the last 3 quarters, which should be the actual numbers. Double check here. Yep. And then the current quarter that we're in, which is estimated, I have in between 492 and 738. They are 281. I do believe that they are undervalued as well. And one thing with them, I would just like to see them be much more ambitious in their growth targets going forward. But maybe if they get a good HPC customer, that could help them out. We saw what happened with Mawson here. They got a good deal with a customer as well. And you saw what happened with the stock on Monday. It was up like 73% or something like that. So at that point, it definitely can help. But yeah, we'll see. We're still early in this stage, I think. And yeah, I'll just leave it at that. We'll talk about it if you guys have any questions on Bitfarms or Hive in the question side of things. All right, finally, last one here is going to be on Hut 8. So Hut 8 reports second quarter 2024 results. This is a quote from Asher Ganut. Despite the network having gross margins in our digital assets mining segments rose to 46% for the 3 months ended June 30th, from 34% in the prior year. Restructuring and optimization initiatives, together with energization of Salt Creek, enabled a 21% reduction in our energy cost per kilowatt hour from 4 cents to 3.2 cents. With our strengthened operating foundation and recent advancements in ASIC efficiencies, we believe that now is the right time to upgrade our fleet. We are also on track to commercialize our GPU as a service per vertical in the third quarter for further bolstering our compute layer economics. Okay. So those are all great things, but they should have been possibly buying newer machines a lot earlier. Even with the advancements, I mean, they could have put those in. They could have been doing much better. Just my 2 cents on it, my thoughts on it. What else do we have here? Okay, own approximately 49,000 miners, approximately 4.8 exahash. So as you can see here, 49, those are under 100 terahash on average miners. They have a lot of older machines there. This includes the company's net share of King Mountain joint venture, and the revenue increased by 14.7 million to 35.2 from 20.5 million for the 3 months ended June 30th of last year. Now, is that for the combined companies with Hut 8 and USBTC at that point, or is that for Hut 8 or USBTC? I don't know. I don't know what that's what they're basing that on. Net loss attributable to Hut 8 was 71.9 million, including loss on digital assets for fair value adjustments of 71.8 million compared to a loss of 1.7 million for the 3 months ended. Yeah, I mean, it's a big loss. Like I said, FASB can be great when Bitcoin's going up, but it can be quite painful when it's going down. Adjusted beta was 57 million negative here compared to 14.8 million positive last year. During the 3 months ended June 30th, 279 Bitcoin mined versus 740 Bitcoin mined in the 3 months ended June 30th. And like I said, that's mainly because they weren't upgrading their fleet. They should have been doing that, but they weren't. Let's see, weighted average cost to mine Bitcoin was 26,000 during the 3 months ended June 30th versus 14.9 for the, and we'll take a look at what number I have for them. But that is it here. Yeah. Let's take a look at their numbers here really quick, and we're going to get to you guys' Q&A. And, well, we'll take a look at market cap and enterprise values as well. But shares outstanding right now, 91 million here. Stock price at 10.97. They're at about 1 billion roughly. The performance over the last 12 weeks has been kind of average. I mean, you can see that they were up 30% from 12 weeks ago, up 6.1 8 weeks ago, and they were down almost 30% 4 weeks ago. They were down also 3%. So it's been kind of on average here. Current hash rate 5.5. They're saying 4.8. So I'll have to see what's going on there. Future hash rate was supposed to be 7.3, but I'm guessing based on them removing some of the older machines, they could be probably at the 4.8 they're at right now. Going down here, last 4 quarters of revenue, we only have really 2 quarters now of their actual combined companies. So we had 39 million here in Q1, 22 million in Q2. Current quarter I'm estimating about 18.6, and this is just for self-mining, does not include any other business segments on top of that. Last 4 quarters operating costs minus depreciation, so they were at 28 in Q1 to 14.5 in Q2, so that is a nice decrease there, and that's mainly because they probably unplugged a bunch of older machines and moved things over into where electricity prices were much better for them. So that's a good sign there. Cost of mining one Bitcoin, I'm at 43,000. They're saying 20. What did they say? They said weighted average cost of mining a Bitcoin was 26,000 during 3 months. Okay, we'll take a look at that. Why do I have such a disparity here, where they were 26,000 in Q1? But we'll take a look at it. Bitcoin mine quarterly, huge decrease here from 862 to 346 from Q1 to Q2 on it. I mean, that's roughly 500 Bitcoin. That's more than half. That's probably the most decrease we've seen from any of the miners here. On it, debt to equity lower is better. That has increased to 0.6, and then the current ratio also increased, which is good, to 1.67. And then total current assets increased to 195 million. That's including the 150 million they got from Code 2. Otherwise, it'd be like 40 some million here. Total current liabilities, 116. So that's actually went up from 107 here. And then going down to the actual numbers, let's take a look at, we'll look at the metrics up top in a second. Cash and cash equivalents, right, 175 million. Big increase here, 150 million that they got from Code 2 as an investment into HPC AI. Let's see what else was a big decrease here on them. Income taxes was a new one that they had. But yeah, total current assets increased to 195 from 333 million, so that's good there. Total assets increased to 1.086 billion compared to 999 million. That's good. Liabilities also increased a little bit here, so that's not too bad. 116 from 107. And then total liabilities went up to 418 from 258. Big increase in here was the loans payable, which includes now the 150 million from Code 2. So that is quite a sizable increase there. Let's see, what else do we have here? Total stockholder equities down to 660 million from 731. And then total liabilities and stockholder equities now 1,086 million compared to the 99 million that they had prior. Revenues. All right, self-mining. You can see here 13.9 million compared to 30 million. That's a sizable decrease from where they were. That's definitely more than 50% on it. Managed services went down a little bit here to 9 million from 9.2. High performance computing actually went up a little bit here. 3.365 compared to 3.32. Other also increased just a little bit here to 8.9. So they came in at 35 million total compared to the 51 million. But the biggest decrease here was the self-mining here. Other ones have kind of gone up, except for managed services went down. All right, now when we look at cost of revenues here, cost of revenue digital asset mining was 7.4 million here on it. So that's definitely a huge decrease from the 16.2. Cost of managed services went up to 3.1. That is an increase from the 2.7 that they had. Cost of HPC went down actually to 2.5 million from 2.589, and then cost of revenue other went up to 7.5. So total cost of revenue is at 20 million compared to 28. Gross profit was only 14 compared to 23. Big decrease in gross profit there as well on it. Okay, operating expenses, depreciation and amortization, pretty close to where it was. Selling general actually came down to 17.9, so that's good there. They're down about roughly 2 million. That's good to see there. Gain on disposition of digital assets. So this is where the FSB rules come into play. They took a 71 million hit on it compared to a decrease of 274 million at that point on it. And that got them down to, let's see here, net income before taxes, negative 72 million compared to a positive 262 million here in Q1 on it. So definitely a big hit on them. And then, let's see, they lost 78 cents per share here for the quarter compared to a gain of $2.90 at that point. All right, if we take out depreciation, amortization, and comprehensive income, they still would be down 67 cents, so that really wouldn't help them out that much on it. So, yeah, I mean, big takeaway is I think they dropped the ball on getting newer machines quicker and getting those things installed in newer facilities and things like that. But they thought it would be wise to wait. I don't think it was wise to wait. I mean, time will tell. We'll see how they do upgrading their fleet going forward. Right now, we don't have any news results from them as far as what they're going to be doing. But let's take a look at the cost to mine Bitcoin. So we're looking at here. What are we looking at here? Okay, so we're looking at 346 BTC mined here. We're looking at the cost of revenue was 7.4, and then we're looking at what else we're including here. Cost of other revenue. Probably should be removing that, I don't think. Divided by BTC mine, unless that's why I'm saying cost of revenue other. Because if we look at it up here, that's why I did it. And let's see here. Let's see, I'm at 22.7 million here. They came in at 22.8, and that includes the other revenue, which coincides with the BTC JV part of it. So that's why I'm including the cost for the other as well in this. Because if I look at the revenues here and I include the 13 and the other revenue side of things, we get them at the, 22 something, 23, whatever it is, million at that point. So that's why I'm using also the costs in the other. If they're looking at just their own self-cost for just their own self-mining, not the JV, maybe at that point they're at 26. Let's take a look at that. So that'd be 13 and 7. Let's run the numbers here up top. Let's just do that really quick. Then they might be closer to that 26th here. Take out other costs as well. But then the BTC cost is much higher. So how can you, that's tough. How can you do that without having a decrease in BTC as well at that point? So I don't know where they're getting 26. If they're only using the BTC that they mine for themselves, not including the JV, and then the cost for the self-mining part of it, maybe at that point they're getting 26. But based on what I'm seeing here, that's kind of what I'm getting out of them. All right, so that's the cost. We kind of covered that. Book value, 472 million here. Price to book ratio, 2.1. Enterprise value, 651 million. EBITDA, 66 million negative. EV to EBITDA, negative 9.8. Revenue was 35 million all in. General estimated compensation was 17 million here. So they're still at 50%, which is a pretty sizable increase from here. They got to get a lot more lean here, I think, going forward. I know that Azure has implemented some things when it comes to travel, that they are not supposed to spend more than $300 per night on hotel rooms, and then I think airfare they're flying coach, I think, at that point. So that's going to help, but yeah, it's still going to do something about the other side of things as well on it. And the 17 sees that just, general administrative compensation. And they may be including also stock-based compensation, because I don't think they report that as a separate item. Let me see here. They don't, I mean, they used to. I can probably find this out, see where it is. But that's including share-based compensation as well at that point. Okay. Going up here to where I have them at, they, based on the last 3 quarters of just Bitcoin self-mining, does not include the other business segments, they should be between 645 and 968. They're at 1097, but I think that's being reflective of the managed services they're having, the other business segments as well that are in there. And I may have to start including those in the numbers as well to see where they possibly should be. So if you, let's just double the numbers here. So maybe between 12 and 18 is where they should be. So at that point, I would think that they would be maybe undervalued slightly if you're on that. All right. So that's it on Hut 8. Let me know what you guys think of that one in the comments and questions. And let's get into really quick here. Take a look at the market cap for the miners here. We still got Marathon being the top one. I mean, it's down like almost $1 billion here in the last couple of weeks. They were at 5 point something. Cleanspark's down to 2.7 billion. Riot's at 2.3. CORZ at 2.2. And everybody else following here right around the 1.3 billion to 1 billion to like 900 million here for BitDeer. Then you got BitDigital at 351 and Hive at 330 million on that one. And then going over to really quick to the enterprise value here, based on the latest numbers that we do have for the number of shares outstanding, stock price, where everything is at right now. We still see Hive as being the most undervalued here, 39 million per exahash on the current hash rate, followed by Riot at 59, right? Riot, I believe, is way undervalued from where they really should be. But they just need to continue to execute the way they have been and improve their uptime a lot more. Riot CEO Jason has stated in the past that they should be only curtailing about 3 to 5% of the time during the year at Corsicana. So we need to see their uptime at Corsicana to be much closer to like 95% uptime. Right now they're at 75%. So we still need some improvements there. Bitfarms is still also undervalued, 85 million here. Then you got Cleanspark 105, Marathon 107 million, Core 108. So those are kind of fairly valued there, I guess you could say. TeraWolf getting way too much of a premium here, 128 million, along with BitDeer, Hut 8, and then Cipher is kind of up higher as well. But then when you look at the future hash rate growth based on what they reported as buying, not just what they're saying, what they're getting, going to be targeting to. Hive is still the most undervalued, along with Riot at 34 million, followed by Iris at 38, Cleanspark 40 million, Bitfarms 45, Marathon 65. So these I would expect, except for maybe Hive because they're not as ambitious in their growth, but these over here I would expect them to possibly flip some of these guys that are being way overvalued here for future hash rate growth if you look at it that way as well. Okay? All right, that is it. Let's get into your guys' Q&A side of things, but as always, my little sales pitch. Patreon members get access to all my spreadsheets. The link for that is down in the description. It's $8 a month. If you do get it, you might be able to find some spots at $4 and $5. Pay the annual subscription and you get 10% discount. Plus, you get access to our Patreon, and the Discord server, private Discord server as well. All right, that's it. Sales pitch is done and over. Let's get into you guys' Q&A side of things. See what you guys have to say. And let me go back to my screen here. Okay. Let's see. What are we talking about here? I'm trying to catch up a little bit here. You guys are having a nice conversation between yourselves, which is great. Okay. Also, it's a bit delayed. It's like 15 seconds delayed, so it may take me a while to get caught up with you guys' questions here. David asks, any reason why Wolf has up 15% after hours? Yeah, I saw that. I'm not sure exactly why. What's going on? I didn't see any news on it or anything like that. So we'll have to wait and see. Let's see. Brian says HUD is just beginning. Get in now. They have a plan. All companies have a plan, but we'll have to see how they do. Para says Druckenmiller Q4 filings. Oh, that's it. That's he owns a position in TeraWolf, I believe. I'm not sure what the amount is on the position, but I remember seeing that. Let's see. Ben says if Bitfarms did poison pill, that would hurt the shareholders because of dilution. Correct. We would get shares at that point as well. My right call Bitfarms bluff or just keep accumulating despite poison pill and surpass 20. They have a ton of cash. Well, they got to 14.99, right? So they stopped at it. They don't want that poison pill being activated. So I don't know if they're going to call the bluff here. I think they're going to get to 19.99. They're going to try to get the board members on there. And if they can't get the board members on there, I think they may call it quits at that point. But we'll see. Let's see. Para says they have 2 million shares of TeraWolf. Okay, so that's really what's happening there. Jenny says, hi Seb, does the poison pill get activated if Bitfarms buys back a few shares while Riot owns 19.9? Oh, good question. I don't know. I don't think the company's going to buy back their own shares, but I don't think that's going to happen. But at that point, if they do, but then you're kind of, I don't think that would work. I could be wrong on that, but I don't think that would work. Let's see. Bitfarms change of board help them to fend off Riot. How? Well, having good board members on there for now. They got also rid of Bonta and Emilio as well. Emilio was kicked out. Basically, he was voted out. But has just basically now resigned from the board, so that's good. Those were the two that Riot was really complaining about, so that kind of helps there, I think. And they got Ben on there and another person on there, so they got 4 independent, and then Ben being the non-independent board member there as well. So I think that does help. Yeah, Bitfarms changing up their board really chips away at the argument Riot is trying to make. Exactly, yeah. Let's see. I keep turning into Sebastian, hoping he can convince me to buy some mining stocks, but he never does. I might buy some solar this fall, though. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. I don't know how else I can convince you to buy mining stocks other than, well, it's tough. I mean, they're so volatile, so I can understand why some people don't want to get into them. And depending when you got into them, some people got into them here recently in the last couple months where stocks were higher, miners at least, and they've been going down, so that doesn't help either. But eventually, I think in the next 12 to 18 months, they will do much better. So maybe just buy a little bit. Let's see. Question, how much does Cleanspark have remaining of their 800 ATM? Oh gosh, I think, what do they have, like 207 million left, I think, of that? I thought I saw that in their quarterly results filing. Correct me if I'm wrong, I thought that was the case. Let's see. Riot buying more shares of Bitfarms, should we be worried? No, not yet at least. We'll have to see in October how the vote goes for the board members, and I think there's something else, excuse me, something else they're going to be voting on. But right now, I'm not too worried about it. They're just trying to see if they can get a majority stake in there, get the board members approved, and at that point, those board members might be able to, depending on how many board members. I mean, we have 4 board members right now that are independent board members, and then we have one Ben as a non-independent or independent, however you say that. If they can get 3 more on, at that point, if they can get 3 more on, we would have 8 board members, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I think what was going to happen is they're trying to get the other board members off, so that means that they would have a controlling interest in the board members at that point, and then that way, the board would vote in favor of Riot because they're being appointed by Riot. Let's see. This British miner analyst called Anthony said there is no way Riot or Mara will see their all-time highs this cycle. Do you agree? No, I don't agree with that. I think they can get to it. We're not too far off. At least for Marathon, we were pretty close. We weren't too far away. Bitcoin going up, depending where Bitcoin goes. So it really depends on Bitcoin. If Bitcoin goes to at least 150,000 plus, maybe to around 200,000, some are calling for even higher, I think some of these guys can get to their previous stock price high, which I think for Marathon was like $80. I think Riot was also somewhere around there as well. And this was back in the 2021 cycle. I think that's doable, and it's mainly doable because they've grown so much in their hash rate and everything else, and the amount of money they're going to be generating, that it should warrant that market cap valuation at that point. But we'll see. Let's see. Seb, I'm telling you, I think you agree, but Q3, specifically August and September, is the worst of the year. Typically, this is a low, so this is likely the last crazy dip. Q3 is half over. Yeah, I seem to agree with you there. I've seen this in the charts. The charts look pretty terrible in Q3 usually. So usually like right around when we get into October, November, that's where usually Bitcoin starts to go up higher for us. We'll see if the cycle is going to be the same. It's been a different cycle already. Now, let's see here. Hey, Seb, I'm thinking about opening a DMG position. Last cycle, I remember they were laggards. Thoughts and potential price targets, please. Thanks. DMG is a smaller one also. They're going to be possibly laggards as well. They're doing the good things as a small miner. I'd like to see them grow some more than where they are. I'd like to see them get at least above 5 to 10 exahash. But it's tough for some of the smaller miners. One capital is tough to get, and then which you need to build out really. So it's tough. Yeah. That's the main reason why I'm not in those smaller guys. Is I'm looking for growth. Let's see. Arn says, I believe the change in Bitfarms board will lead to shareholders voting against Riot's takeover. And I'm sure that's kind of what they're hoping for, and that's kind of what I'm hoping for, the same thing. Let's see. Are you still buying Bitfarms and IREN as your top buys? I would be if I had the cash to do it right now. All out of cash. It may take me another week or two before I have some more cash to buy more. But yeah, I'll buy some more. Let's see. Do you think Mara will sell their HODL stash during the bull market, or do you think they gonna hold forever? Wouldn't it be better to sell at the top? I agree with you. I think it would be better to sell for profitability. The last cycle they didn't do it. They didn't sell at the top. They didn't sell anywhere near the bottom of it. Anyways, selling at the bottom was probably good, but they didn't sell anywhere towards the top. They just continued to HODL and HODL and HODL. And I've talked about this in the prior videos as well. Fred has their company did a study. What's possibly the best way to go about HODL, whether it's HODL everything or sell everything or a mixture of the two. And they came out at one point saying that it's probably beneficial to do a 50-50. HODL 50%, sell 50%, just monthly. And they've kind of gone away from that. I don't know whether it's because they're trying to be the next MicroStrategy, or they can't grow fast enough, or can't find infrastructure. I don't know what the deal with that is. But I agree with you. I think it's more advantageous to sell. Cleanspark did it the right way, I think, last cycle. They were selling towards the top, and then as Bitcoin was coming down as well, they used that for growth. We'll see if Cleanspark does the same thing now. They've been hodling a heck of a lot more, which is fine, which I'm okay with if you're hodling it before the halving event, like maybe 9 to 12 months before the halving event, and then usually you want to start selling it towards when Bitcoin starts going into a bull run. We'll see if they start selling at that point, but they've been hodling a lot also. Let's see. Okay. Says Seb Mawson announcement. They don't even mention other Comanche by name. Deep dive. It is a company called BEG Global, a shell company set up only this year in the UK. Be very careful. Interesting. I mean, if they got funds, if they got funded, don't know what their funds or what their funding was, but yeah, definitely be if it's a shell company or something like that, be wary of that. Let's see. What's the latest on Iconic Digital, and what do you think is going to happen there? You guys are talking about, I think, what is it? The CEO is leaving there, right? And they just got issues. I think they were supposed to go public. Now they're saying that they may not go public. I don't know what's going on there. I know the investors in there are frustrated, and Iconic is using Hut 8 for their managed services and to build out the facility for their machines there. So I don't know. I don't have an update on that. Let's see. Last September and October were the worst for inflation. So September 2024 and October 23 will have lower CPI readings. That's going to set the bar for Moontime. Yeah, I mean, we saw the CPI data come out. What was it? Today it came out, I think. It came lower. It came in, 2.9 instead of the 3% I expected. We also had a good PPI number as well. That's going to lead to the Fed possibly low. Well, I'm pretty sure now he's going to lower rates in September, which is going to be good for risk-on assets, which Bitcoin and Bitcoin miners are. So that should be really good. Let's see. Bitcoin's dropping back to 58,000 now. Do you think Bitcoin has lost steam already? Do you think the peak for this cycle is already done at 72,000? Gosh, I hope it's not. I think we all are hoping that at 72,000. It would be too much or too low of a gain from the previous all-time high to get only to 72, 73,000 on it. Let's take a look at Bitcoin here really quick. Let's see what's going on there. I mean, yeah, it's still within our bounds here of our support at 57,500 and our resistance at 61,000. So it's down a little bit from where we've been, but I still don't believe that 73,000 is going to be the peak here. I mean, if you just look at it here, here's the 73,000. If we scroll out far enough out, let's see here. If it loads, come on. Why is it not loading? Let's turn off. Let's see. There we go. I think the VRVP is taking a while. Hide that. Okay. So here's a previous cycle, right? We peaked at, what did we peak there at? 68,568. Prior to that, we were at a peak, right? So here's the halving event. Look at that nice run up here. We basically went up. What did we go from? We went from towards like the bottom. We were like at 9,000 or something like that. 9,000 to that is what? Roughly a 6x on it. Our number here at the halving event here was much higher. So I would expect it to at least double here, to go, or 3x from this number, based on the simple fact that each cycle we get less of a x multiple, but we get higher gains dollar-wise, right? So I expect to do at least better than that. And I mean, you can see the halving event here. We've been coming down here. The halving event over here. Let's zoom in on that one in 2021. Let's see if we dipped, and I think we did dip a little bit, but not as much as we have here. But yeah, we dipped a little bit after that. We went sideways, up, down, and then we finally went up here. This time around, we had the pre-halving with a much, well, before the halving event, we had the new all-time high here on it, where we reached 73,000. That's never happened before, and now it's kind of like we're going down, but I think eventually it will reverse and we will start going back up. So I don't think 73,000 is the end of it, because if that means that's the top of it, then our possibility is just going to go trade sideways this whole time, and I don't see that happening, or we might be going down. The cycle might be different because we do have so much institutional investment in there, the ETFs, countries buying it, banks buying it, all this stuff is happening. So I think we're just getting, primed for a nice pump up. I think the lower we go, which we went pretty low, to a low of, what was it, 49,000? Yeah, from 73,000. That's a nice decrease here. Let's measure that really quick. So that's 33% downwards. What if we went up 33%? Well, let's see if I can draw the candle here. Or where's my line? Okay. So if we went from the top to the bottom here, roughly, is that. Okay. Now move that from the top here. Let's see if I can zoom this out. Okay, at that point, why can't I move this? There we go. From where we are right now, that would get us to approximately 86,000. If we go from the top, that would get us to about 100,000 at that point, before possibly having the next kind of draw down a little bit, accumulation phase, before you go up higher again at that point. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. You guys may agree, may disagree. But yeah, I just don't think that's going to happen just yet, that we're still too early in the cycle. Let's see. Are you concerned about recession and its impact on the stock market? I mean, there's a lot of talk about with the recession. Everybody's talking about it, hyping it up, that we're going to go into a recession. I don't think it's going to happen, to be honest. Not maybe until possibly like a year and a half to 2 years out from where we are right now. The data that we're just seeing right now, yes, there's you got some indicators that are pointing to a possible recession, but I just don't see it. I honestly just don't see it here right now. I think some things are being hyped up too much, maybe a little bit. Okay. Okay, which miners has the most projected growth for 2025? Cipher. Let's see. Might be. I think they're trying to get from 13 to like, what is it, 30 some exahash, I think. Remember 30, 35 exahash? They might have the most growth projected at that point. Who else has really good growth here? See, Cleanspark's going to get from 31 to possibly 50 exahash, if not more. Riot, same thing. They're getting to like 40 some exahash. Marathon, we don't know. Marathon's supposed to get to 50 exahash this year. We don't know what the targets are for 2025. Bitfarms is going to go from 21 to 35. So, I mean, there's still quite a few miners that are going to have pretty good growth here in 2025. Let's see. What miners can go out of business first if BTC crashes instead of a bull run? Oh, gosh. It's the smaller miners, I think. The ones that aren't growing much, I think those are the ones that are very well capitalized, which means like the top miners that we cover here, in these large miners. The smaller miners that are 6 of them, you got Argo, who else is in there? Argo, DMG, Digihost, Sphere, and Stronghold. Those might be in trouble at that point. And then you'd have to look at the balance sheets of all these guys. If they have a pretty healthy balance sheet, I think they would do better. Ones that maybe don't have a HODL maybe would be worse off potentially. Yeah. In your opinion, who can drive Bitcoin up? Big institutions, investors? Do retail even have enough money to drive Bitcoin up? I think so. I think they still have. We haven't really seen retail yet. Retail has not FOMO'd in yet. And that's usually what drives them up, right? The institutions will usually want to front run this. They'll take Bitcoin down, let people panic at that point, sell out. They're going to buy the bags if they want to buy the bags, and then they're going to start rising it up. And once they start rising it up, you're going to have people going, oh, Bitcoin was at 60,000, now it's at 120,000. They're going to be buying it. They're thinking it's going to go to 500,000, whatever it might be. So I think it's going to be a combination of more adoption by banks, institutions, companies putting on their balance sheet. All of that stuff is going to drive it up in the next 12 to 18 months. Let's see. Steve says, I really like Cipher based on its chart. It may surprise lots of people since it doesn't have many resisting lines. Let's go. The chart might look pretty good, yeah. Let's see. Let's see. Wolf's CFO interview on McNally Money was eye-opening. No wonder Soros and Druckenheimer bought. Yeah, Patrick is really good. I really like Patrick. I think he's been doing a great job there. Let's see. Robert says, I save in BTC. I don't really care what the price is. Eventually, everyone will save in BTC. That BTC is kind of like a store of value. Let's see. Your last question for me. Which miner will be the most profitable by end of year going into 2025? Most profitable. Just based on cash costs, that's going to be tough depending where Bitcoin's at, what the hash rate is. I would imagine the miner that has the largest hash rate, best uptime, combination of both of those is probably going to be the one doing the best, unless you include also HPC business in there. Then you might be looking at like Core at that point. Let's see here. Para says, strongly agree with your technicals analysis, Seb. Next leg up, 90,000 to 100,000. Still not cycle top, though. Okay. Yeah, that's great. So we're in agreement there. I think that's kind of what's going to happen. We're going to get to 90, 100,000. We'll have a pullback. We need a pullback. It's going to be healthy. And then we'll continue on possibly into like, Q2 of 2025, we start going back up a little bit. Q3 might be a little rough, and then possibly Q4. What else we here? Would you buy BitDigital, low market cap, working on HPC AI? I do think that BitDigital is way undervalued from where it really should be. And the reason for that is, and the reason I think they're being undervalued is because they don't own any infrastructure. All they have is the machines, the ASICs, and the GPUs, the servers there. That's it. I think because they're so asset light in that respect, that they're not being valued as high as some of the other companies that do have a roadmap and growth in infrastructure and all that stuff. I think that's helping them out much, much more so than it is for BitDigital. Which, if BitDigital being weighed equally with infrastructure, if they had infrastructure, which they don't, I think they should be at least probably a double to 3x from where they are right now, based on the revenue that they're getting. But also their hash rate is pretty small. What is it, like 3 exahash? Not even 3 exahash right now. They're trying to get to 6 exahash. I think that's also a hindrance to the stock. Andrea, thank you. Hey, gang, please smash the like button. That like button. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right, I think I've cut up to all you guys' questions here. And then Lazaro says, thanks for everything, Seb. Have a good night. Yeah, you too. What are we going on? We're going on an hour now. Okay. One more question here. If the poison pill is activated, are we offered the chance to buy discounted Bitfarms shares, or are we given shares? Not clear on this one. I think they're like at penny at that point. So I do think you get a chance to buy more at a much lower discount, or we might be even given shares. I don't know on that one either. The only other time that I've heard about a poison pill being enacted possibly was going to be with Elon Musk trying to buy out Twitter, if you remember that. So yeah, we'll find out. I'm sure if it happens, we'll find out. All right, well, we'll see what happens tomorrow. Tomorrow is what, Thursday? We'll see what they report, anything like that. Let's see here. Para says, money market funds are at an all-time high. By the way, retail is not here yet. Quite the opposite. They're betting on a recession. Possibly, yeah. People are definitely thinking that it might be a recession, but like I said, I just don't see it just yet. I mean, everywhere I look, businesses are still busy. Yes, it might be slowing down, but businesses are still busy. Restaurants are still packed. Where at least where I live, it could be in other general areas where it's maybe slower, but where I'm living, I just don't see it right now. But we'll see. Anyways, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you so much for coming in here. Greatly appreciate you guys. Have a wonderful night, and then we'll discuss whatever happens tomorrow. See you then.